Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever this podcast may find you. It is I, as always, Gavin.
And I, Justin.
And, we are back. I feel like it's been a while since I've been here. We didn't miss a week or anything, did we?
No, we didn't, because we recorded our last podcast on when we were finishing up the editing of the Death Cars here.
Okay.
I think the reason it feels weird is because prior to that, we had me having COVID, so you weren't here. And then we had...
Oh, we recorded one here.
Mm-hmm, we did.
Okay.
Last week was recorded here. Then the week before that was recorded remote. And I think there was a couple others in between. We've been basically leapfrogging recordings.
Yeah, kind of.
So either way, probably feels like it's been a while because there's been times it hasn't been here.
Welcome back to normalcy.
Exactly.
We're trying to keep it consistent, though, because, consistency is how you, grow stuff.
And this is nice.
It's just fun to do, yeah.
Yeah, it's just sitting in here versus remote. Remote's great, technology's amazing, but...
Well, I'm glad we can do it remotely.
Yeah, it gives us plenty of flexible options.
Saves me money on gas.
Mm-hmm. But down here, we have our big old table and mixer, our other display.
Yeah. Well, you got the Christmas lights and the Porsche and...
Gavin's ticket.
No speed limit right under the ticket. I might have to switch those, actually. I think maybe... Actually, no. No, I take that back. It's good right now.
Yeah, I think it's good where it is.
Yeah.
But no, it's all cool and dandy. So what have you been up to this week?
What have I been up to this week? This is making for such great radio. I got my snow tires on.
Good.
My car feels as most like a rally car as it ever has before. I'm actually getting brakes done after this. I'm going to my buddy Sasha's place. My friend Sasha, who actually emigrated here from Belarus in 2004.
He is a legit Belarusian.
He is a Belarusian, but I was like his first friend here in 2004. So we go way back. But he has not spec Miata, but an ND Miata. Excuse me. An ND Miata that I drove in 2021.
Yeah.
Last year, and I had it for a week, and actually wrote an article on it that is on our website at www.expeditiontospeed.com. Go check it out. We have a couple other articles, and I want to add more to those going on later. But he has some tools. I'm bringing the RBF 660, doing a fluid flush, and he's the kind of person that really tries to maximize dollars. But in a really good way, though.
Yeah.
He has been able to find not back alleyways, but just these unknown brand, at least to me, unknown brands or products that I don't know. Instead of say for a Fiesta going to Mount Tune and getting a brake kit or whatever, he'll go and search Rock Auto or search other sites and find interesting things. And he found a brake compound for his Miata that he uses. He's in TT3 in NASA.
Okay.
So, and he's towards the top, at least for his class. So, I trust him.
Oh yeah.
He and I did a brake fluid flush. Ooh, when was that? I got some brakes done. I'm trying to think of how it went, because it was towards the end of 2020 when I recall really, really needing some brakes. Yeah, so I got pads and rotors in the winter, but I think I got them done later. I think I kind of skimmed by for a bit.
That happens.
Maybe a bit more than I should. And I think we got them done towards the beginning of last year. Maybe it was the end of 2020. I don't know. My brain is all kerfuffled about that. So yeah, it's been a little while, and I have .4, but it's Mercedes .4 because I needed it in a pinch, and picking it from Rally Sport Direct fucking sucks, especially if you have a day job.
Yeah, because I'm sure they're 9 to 5.
Maybe it's even 9 to 4 or something, or 8 to 4. I don't know. It's just I couldn't work with my schedule.
Yeah,
and I didn't I was cheap for some reason. I didn't want to pay to have it shipped to my place, even though I just fucking should have. But anyways, I was in a rush and just needed to flush my fluid, so I went to the Mercedes in Draper because it was actually on the way to a watch event that I was shooting.
Yeah.
So I was I'm just gonna hurry and rush and try to do this, and it was all frantic about it. But that fluid has done me well. I couldn't tell you how many miles I put on it, but it was like towards the beginning of last year. So it's been over 18 months of, a lot of canyon driving with that fluid. I guess I took that to LA.
Yeah.
That was in my car when we did the canyons in LA, the canyons here. I haven't done any track time with it, but that's something I'd like to do next year.
Yeah.
Actually, that'd be kind of fun. But yeah, so I got these new pads. The pads that I've had on my car are like the upgraded S pads. They are Fomoco. They are Ford OEM pads, but they were just an upgraded from the base Fiesta ST pad that I had before.
Yeah.
So
I know. I mean, it's funny. You're going to do that. Like, I got my snow tires on as well, which that's actually a little bit of a story. A long time coming on the Saab.
Well, and let me get into this first.
Yeah,
let
go
me
ahead.
just round out my car. So I'm normally what I do with my wheel and tire setup is keep a proprietary set per season, and I think that will still be the case going forward. I have had my black OEM 5-spokes that are just curved as fuck, chipped. They just look like ass. And I skipped putting the tires on those wheels so I could keep the Blizzaks on my Integrales.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, kind of the way to go. They're not perfect either. Like they have some rock chips on them and they look kind of like gnarly, but gold Integrales with Blizzaks on them. And I actually heard recently Team O'Neill, who runs Fiesta STs in like their rally schools and stuff.
Yeah.
They use WS90 Blizzaks for their dirt tires.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I have tires that are rally school runs on their cars. I have a spoke design that was inspired heavily from some of the most iconic era of rally.
Yeah.
Being the late 80s or in the 80s. And finished in a color that is iconic for Subaru, which is also kind of my background too, and also really well-known, famous rally cars, gold wheels. So it's kind of like this menage a trois of, rally history.
Yeah, and you had these big chunky tires on them, so it just looks the part.
It looks the part, and it's a menage a trois of like pulling from 3 distinct eras of like the late 80s, the early 2000s, and now current era.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
No, I think it's awesome. And
yeah,
I think it's funny, actually. I keep forgetting this, but I just remembered that like our cars share the same bolt pattern too. I keep remembering we've talked and joked about that.
We should like throw jack stands on my car and throw the Integrales on your car and just see how it looks.
I don't even know if they would fit. So like
probably not.
So
they're 205/40 17s.
Yeah, so I think it would be pretty tight.
Not to drive, by the way, just to sit in your driveway.
No, and it would be funny because with how low that car sits and how the wheel well is so tucked close, that wheel would fill the entire wheel well.
You'd probably be sitting on rubber.
Yeah, I do know there are a couple people that have been able to fit 18s on the Saabs.
That's ridiculous. Are those with lifts?
No. But they have to do a little bit of tucking in, and they have to make some custom adjustments to make them fit right. But like on my car, I have to give a little bit of a backstory here. My car, the Saab, had the traditional 15-inch 3-spokes from factory. There was another set of 3-spokes called Super Arrows, which basically take those and give it a big, deep dish around and bump up the size to 16.
Sure.
I had a set of those that came with my car, and I ended up really fucking wrecking one of them. Into a curb at 40, took out a good 4-inch long, 2-inch deep chunk out of the entire side. It was great.
Well done.
At that time, those wheels, you could find a set for like $500. So I threw them to the side, and then we ended up meeting our friend Nate, who owns now a wheel repair shop just north of me.
He's the one that powder coated my wheels gold, actually.
Yeah. And so I finally had somebody to fix that wheel, but at that time I was broke trying to start this up, so I had to wait until about early last year in 2021 to go get it fixed and refinished. And it was a lot of work just because there was legitimately probably a pound of material missing. Like, it was a lot of material missing from this wheel, but by that point those wheels had gotten so expensive. You used to be able to find a full average set, possibly needing refinishing, but straight for $500.
Sure.
Now you can't even find them for $500 a wheel.
Jesus.
So now they're like, a full good set is between $200 to $2,500.
Jeez.
So I was like, okay.
Like in original condition or like what kind of condition are we talking here?
That's refinished. Original.
That is.
Yes.
Wow.
Original condition, you're talking 1,500 roughly.
Okay.
So, but this wheel repair ended up being about $450,
which is average.
Yeah, especially for what needed to be done.
Yeah.
So that was fixing it and refinishing it, and then I brought it home. It looked beautiful, but then the other 3 wheels didn't really match very well because they did get refinished about a decade ago, I think.
Sure.
But it's still been a decade, and I put 30,000 miles on those wheels myself. I drove back from Boston on those wheels, so they've had some wear and tear.
Yeah.
And then I had this beautiful, pristine wheel that you couldn't even tell where the repair was done.
Yes.
So what I ended up in a chicken and egg scenario. So to refinish the other 3 wheels, they didn't need any fixing as far as physically. They just needed to be repainted. I was told that like we should have tires on them first. That way we don't need to mount them, don't risk damaging them. But 16-inch by 6 wheels are kind of a pain in the ass to find performance tires for these days.
They're by 6. Yeah. They're fucking narrow.
They're a weird size. Back in the 80s, that was a entry-level performance size.
Sure.
Now, that's like
30 years later,
that's like your basic cars,
are wider than that. They're 7s now.
And on top of that, like a 16-inch, just as far as wheel diameter, that, since of the early 2000s has been like Impalas, like regular ass cars. So most of the tires.
Yeah, even if that, I mean, Chevy Aveos.
Yep.
So
most of the tires made for that wheel size now are not performance oriented whatsoever and are big size.
Does anyone, like, bar none, make a 16-inch wheel? Like OEMs, like are there any cars now that come with 16s?
Cars, no. Trucks, yes. My Tacoma's 16s. So like there are things that have a 16-inch diameter, but I don't know about cars.
I'm thinking like Corollas are probably 17s.
I think they are. I think pretty much everything is 17 is the go-to now, I think.
Yeah. Which is funny because I think my dad's 964 came on 17s.
Yeah, 17. So the hierarchy of wheels, like 17 was performance. That was what my Audis had in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
That was like your entry level performance, and at that time 21s was like the end of the world, amazing, like higher end cars performance wise. Now 17's pretty normal, 21's normal performance, and like 22 and up is like your Porsches and things like that.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I think it's the big AMG SUVs, so like the GLE AMG or like the GLS AMG, those are 23s.
Yep.
Which is nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I ended up in this predicament where getting tires for these wheels, like brand new tires, like GWS 06 Pluses or whatever, is more than the 19s on my Stinger was. Like, same tires, but to buy a 16-inch variant of them costs more because they're so low volume, because nobody buys them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was like $1,000 to get a set of tires, roughly. And then, an additional $500 to just refinish all 3 wheels total. So I was like, $1,500. Like, I'm getting closer to that being just a thing to be easy, but it's not easy still. It's still a lot of money. So they just sat. They've sat for a year and a half since I got that wheel refinished. And then on Wednesday, I was at a dealership that I work with, and he got a car traded in that happened to come with these 16-inch snow tires, just not mounted, just with the car. And I saw him stacking them and like taking pictures of them, asked him what was going on. They were 195 40 16s, so a size that would fit
what
perfectly.
You need.
And he's like, "You want them?" And sorry, I misquoted you earlier when I told him about it. It was $100. It wasn't 50. But still,
whatever.
Like they're 4-year-old,
almost free.
4-year-old, almost free Pirelli snow tires.
Yeah,
of the same. I actually had that brand before on one of my Audis, and that specific model, and they were fantastic.
Yeah.
So I bought them, and then went and took them, got them mounted on the wheels yesterday, and then threw them up because the problem, that basically solved the chicken and egg dilemma of I didn't want to sit here and pay so much money for tires and then pay to refinish just to throw wheels on there when I've been running on like 10-year-old tires for that thing for a while.
Which is not good.
It's just what I had. No, I know, but that thing also doesn't get driven. Very specifically, it doesn't go far.
Yeah.
So that was okay to just trundle around town. It was not okay to do other things, especially when one of them has had a leak for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I would even argue that 10-year-old tires aren't safe just to be driven on the road, period.
No, and that's fair and accurate, and I follow that rule with pretty much every other car.
Like performance driving, not even being
exactly
in play.
No, and I completely agree. This was just more of a situation of like, I don't want to throw money at the 15-inch tires, so I have tires that have good enough tread that aren't weather cracked. They're not like immediately dangerous by any means.
Yeah.
I can run around on those until I find a solution, and finally the solution presented itself.
Right.
So the car's now back.
You lucked out.
Yeah, exactly. The car's now back on the beautiful deep dish 16s that I remember the car from when I bought it, and it's been almost 5 years that I haven't had those on the car. And it was cool to see them return to form. Kind of weird because usually on those 16s I'd have a 205, so it'd be a slightly taller sidewall and wider, which would feel the wheel well a little bit more. So it looks a little interesting. There's a lot more wheel than tire than there usually is, and those wheels also have a really, really thick lip, and so it just makes the tires look puny. But at the same time, with snow tires, a little bit narrower is actually a better thing.
Yeah, because it cuts through the snow better.
Yep, and no, it was really good to see that because, like, for the past 2 years, since one of those tires had a leak, I had this ritual of any time I wanted to drive it, if it had been sitting for more than a few days, I had to back it out, fill up all the tires, and then drive it around. But at least that's not the case now, and it looks kind of cool. It's similar to yours. It looks kind of cool and meaty with these tires on it.
Yeah,
because they're just chunky.
Rally car, bro.
You know what would be funny, since you mentioned this just a second ago? Let's take one of my Super Arrows and see if it fits on your Fiesta.
I mean, I'm not down.
That would be hilarious, because like that would look interesting.
We should go to a car show together. Yes. You show up with the Integrales, I show up with the Super Arrows.
What offset are your Integrales?
40s.
Okay,
I think. Or 42.
I'm trying to remember what my Saab. Naturally, it's Saab. Everything's weird. So I'm gonna look up what exactly the specs are. I know they're 16 by 6, like I said earlier. I just don't remember.
And mine are 17 by 7.5, I think.
Yep. Let's see. And it is funny how we're still both in the same bolt pattern. 4 on 108 is just such a weird bolt pattern. Oh, yeah, here you go. Look at this. See? Oh, you know I was talking about price earlier? Look at that price right there. 3,000 euros.
I mean, the euro is weak right now, but holy shit.
Yeah, exactly. So really, that's not far off what dollar value would be at this point.
Yeah.
That's... wow.
Wait. Why is that?
Complete set. That's all eBay.
Why is... Oh, they're not selling... That's weird. I'm on 1552's website right now just trying to find specs, and in the silver, which is what my wheels originally were, they're not selling them in 4x108s.
Gotcha. Anymore. Okay, so my offset's chunky. It's a
okay.
It's 17. A 27 mil offset.
That's okay.
Chunky, deep.
Yeah.
So at least it would push it further away. So that actually would.
It'd be okay with mine. Let me go to wheel specs here. So 17 by 7.5s. There's a 30 offset and there's a 42 offset. And I don't know what I am.
Gotcha.
And there's a 73. So for the 30 offset, it's a 73 millimeter center bore.
Yeah.
It's a 63 for the 42. They're both 24 pounds, and they both have 1,600 pound load ratings.
Okay. Interesting.
So okay.
I would imagine.
I guess if we got what's the measurement tool for like a?
Oh, I have one.
People in watches use them all the time.
Yeah.
Probably computer stuff too.
Yeah. But it'll be stamped on the inside of your wheel. Like it'll be on the inside of your wheel. It'll have an ET marking.
Yeah. True.
So if we just took one off, we could easily find out what it is.
Yeah.
That would be so funny, though. Just you rolling up on deep dish 3 spokes from the 80s.
That would go so hard.
Yeah.
There are people that do swap other Ford wheels, like old Focus wheels, like from the early 2000s. I've seen that be a thing, which is kind of interesting. Old SVT wheels from like the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, Fox body wheels are also 4x108s.
Actually, yeah, and I just remembered because when I did this whole swap, we were over at my friend Carson's, and we have a friend named Tyson that has a Merker. His Merker runs on 401.8s, and he has his Enkis. That would be an interesting swap as well.
I forgot what Enkis he had.
I don't remember, but I can pull up Le Photo. But they are beautiful wheels, and they fit the car really well. But it's just such a weird size because at this point it lives in a weird no man's land.
Yeah.
They're these ones.
Those are RPF ones.
Cool. So he has RPF ones.
Yeah. So like if you go to a track day, it's like fucking all of the spec Z cars, probably a lot of spec Miatas.
Yeah.
You see them on the street a lot. It's a de facto. It's basically a meme at this point of like, oh, you want a strong, lightweight wheel.
RPF ones.
Yeah. And they don't look half bad either.
It was on that Merker, they actually look really good.
Yeah.
I think they fit the car really well. So what this means is we need to start up a Utah local 4x108 wheel swap. It's like wife swapping, but wheel swapping. We'll just start a Facebook group and be like,
Oh
hey,
my God.
hey, Saab Super Arrows trade for a week for something else.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, do like a short-term like swap.
Yeah, just like, hey, let's trade for a week.
See who fits. The problem that I see with that is like you need an agreement of people like treating wheels correctly, but also tires, because like I'm not gonna take my tires off. But also like I don't want to like come back to my sorry, I spaced on my tires. My Conti ECSs.
Yep.
I don't want to come back to that with like the front wheels being just fucking bald.
Or even if not just bald, but like even if somebody has a real shit alignment, like uneven wear.
Yeah, just like showing cord after a week.
Yeah. There's those problems. Offset's a problem. And even beyond offset, even wheel weights can be a problem because, for instance, like I mentioned earlier, Audi S6s like what I had from the early 2000s, they had 17-inch wheels from factory, fit just fine over brakes and stuff.
Sure.
Carson, with his rotiforms that are also same size, 17s, because of just the design of the inner barrel, he actually could not mount wheel weights on the inside because they would get scraped off by the caliper.
Whoa.
So even things as simple as that can be a problem with like certain brake setups or weirdness. Like, so like the one problem I could see with us swapping wheels is that my wheels, although they are 16x6s and the offset is pretty aggressive, they curve in like this with the spokes.
Mine is still kind of an economy car.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that it'll clear.
I think what's funny is
Box bodies? No.
I think your brakes might actually be very much the same size as what's on my Saab. Because my Saabs, my Saabs for the era were actually quite large.
Yeah, because I mean, there are people that run 15-inch snow wheel or wheels for snow tires.
Yeah, because your brakes I think are only slightly bigger than a stock Fiesta's. They're not.
Well, and I also have calipers in the back. Instead of drums.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what my Saab has as well. So I think there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance?
Here, I'll steal your wheels for a week and I'll powder coat them gold while I have them.
That would be interesting. I actually wouldn't be that opposed to that.
Like the same gold-tastic that I have?
Yeah, they would look good.
You'd still kill me.
Yeah.
I would deserve it.
In a weird way, I actually really like that car in like the monotone spec that mine is in.
Yeah.
It just fits the car because the whole point of that car was supposed to be like the businessman's fuck around toy to a degree in the SPG spec, and I kind of like it better in the non-flashy colors in a weird way.
I mean, I do too. I mean, it's been the way that it is for so long, and with I associate the way that it is with you. Like it just makes sense to have it like that, and not like a flashy red or yellow or something.
And it's weird because that car is what has gotten directly 9 people to buy 900s.
That's cool
because AJ bought his, my dad bought his, my brother bought his, my friend Dustin that also has an SPG but is red, he bought his, Nick. I mean, like so many of my friends that have driven that car, then like, oh, I'm gonna go buy one. That's cool. Because at the time when most of that was happening, they were cheap, and now like everything else, they're having the moment of fame.
I mean, it's with stuff. It's cars from the late '80s, early '90s. They're I mean the part like Radwood has been and will continue to have its moment, but the critical part of Radwood is really from like 87 to 95.
And those cars, that's right when those cars
like
got
Ferraris,
good.
Porsches, Lambos, and now Saabs and BMWs also, like all from that era are having moments.
Yeah, it blows my mind still that there's been 4 900s, and granted this is bring a trailer, but this is more just getting an air on the top of the market.
Yeah,
like there's been 4 of them that have sold for 50,000 plus in the past year.
Right,
and that was never the case.
Yeah,
so it's
and that's even with the market now starting to soften too.
Yeah, and the great thing about my car is I paid $2,700 for it, and it is not going to ever be valuable because of the unknown mileage, but even though it's unknown, I know it's well beyond 250, 300,000, like by my estimates, because of all the documentation I have.
Sure. But it's still TMU.
Yeah, exactly. Total mileage, completely unknown. But like, it's such the weird amalgamation of stuff, because even though that's the case, it has the original windshield.
Yeah.
It has never been
true.
repainted. It has never been in an accident.
Yeah.
And that will change. I've mentioned before that like that car is coming up on needing a pretty good amount of rust repair and repainting and bodywork. It's that time. It's been 34 years at this point.
And also been driven in the winter.
Yeah.
Where there's salt. I mean, I know people, my good buddy Donnie, he doesn't drive his Chevelle in the winter. Not because of the fact that it's a rear-wheel drive muscle car, because it's actually the four-door. It's the Malibu Chevelle. And it's rust. But that car is fucking immaculate. It looks brand new. And he won't ever drive that in the winter.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him, but it's also kind of too bad.
Yeah.
You know?
And there are, with modern technologies, there are ways to help around that. Not like undercoating the whole car or anything.
Right.
There are modern soaps, for instance, because that's what I do is detailing, that have salt inhibitors in them, that if you spray them on there with like a soap can and let them sit for about 10 minutes, they'll actually neutralize salt, which is cool. It's still not a surefire way, but my Saabs suffer from a similar thing, except for even more weird. Those Chevelles and stuff, a lot of their problem is they don't have proper drainage. Water gets stuck in areas like in fenders, things like that. The Saabs, they have proper drainage and they were well thought out. But what's funny with them is where they rust, there's a couple consistent places, but there's also a lot of inconsistent places.
Okay.
Which come down from errors in undercoating or things like that, because especially when mine was built in the era where they were building a lot of them, which was 87 through 93, that was also when Saab went through bankruptcy for the first time. So there was probably a little bit of combination cost cutting or labor problems or whatever that caused them to not undercoat different parts. So Dustin's red SPG, for instance, it's almost entirely rust-free, except for a random spot when it was up in the air right underneath the rear driver's footwell. Like just in the middle of the car.
Oh, that's weird.
Just because that area didn't get undercoated as well, and after 30 years, that area was rusty.
I mean, that's probably the most central part of the car, and they were just trying to get the outsides and just didn't get that center part.
So the common areas, like the bottoms of the doors, and mine, one of mine's been repaired once on the inside with like a Pour 15. It needs to be, but it's starting to rust again. The trunks have it, as well as mine. One of my jack points actually has a rust hole through it.
Okay.
It's a fairly...
It's not where you want rust.
No. No, so I always had to be careful on that side of the car.
Yeah.
It's never gotten any worse. But
there's a trans mount that you could use.
Yeah, exactly. There's stuff that I could use.
Yeah.
But it's coming up on that, because it did live in Boston most of its life, where it wasn't as far
Do they
as...
use salt out there?
They do.
Okay.
As far as... the individuals that I bought it from, because I am the fourth owner, I do know that the second and third owners made efforts to not drive it in the winter. The first owner, it was a lease initially, so I don't know whether or not he gave a shit. But realistically speaking, it was in a salty environment that had snow for the winter, and then it came to Utah and has the same thing. And it was my daily for 4 years, so it did go through the winter.
Right.
Yeah, it's coming up on that. But
well, and it's something that I always find funny, perusing through like Fiesta ST I call them forums. There's Facebook groups, whatever.
Yeah.
It does the same fucking thing. And there are people that put their Fiesta STs away for the winter because they don't want them to rust.
Interesting.
It's a Ford Econobox, okay?
Yeah.
Like the blend door is gonna fail, you know,
yours,
like mine, where it goes
when you start it up.
Yeah, when I started, well, depends on what setting I'm on.
Yeah.
Some people's cars, you know, there's some bubbling that happens around the antenna or like around like the opening of the trunk out back. Like it's just gonna happen. Like it's a more disposable product, which then, you know, with the hindsight of what we've seen with, you know, past cars that weren't all that desirable going up in value, like your Saab.
Yep.
You know, the ones that do get driven hard and get clapped, or like, you know, say Nissan 240 SXs.
Yes.
The drift tax, or now the 350Zs are starting to get this too. You know, I guess me driving my car all year in the winter, potentially getting some rust. Like I don't have any body rust.
Yeah.
There's like a little bit on the undersides, like around like the control arms, like on like the thin parts of it, like where it kind of tapers off. Mm-hmm. Like there's like it's minimal. It's like a little bit. It's not that bad.
And those are also parts that are replaceable from the body, like bolt out, bolt in.
Right, exactly. I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous that people put or people using I've seen Fiesta STs used this way, and Focus RS is used as the track toy.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand why you would want a front wheel drive hatchback as like the track toy.
Yeah.
I don't know. People are weird, but
yeah.
But some people also think Saabs are fun cars too. So,
I mean, hey, like there's there's worse than that. That's nothing. My Saab skin.
For those listening, I'm doing the
Salt Bay.
The Salt Bay.
See, my Saab skin is pretty thick at this point because I have to deal with Dave Raleigh, where we have arguments on the superior Swedish automobile.
Of course, you and all the Volvo guys.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah. But at the end of the day, we've got each other's backs. We just have to shit fling at each other while we do things.
Well, yeah, and it's like, you are still the outcast in the automotive world of weirdos that like Swedish
things.
Yeah, exactly. I did drive a Volvo recently, though. I did talk about this on the podcast. The new Volvos right now are so good.
Well, they actually.
I'm so into it.
There's a YouTube video I watched a while back that I think makes a very good point. And it was also one thing that was referenced when Top Gear did its Saab tribute. So, like when Jeremy was summing up everything about what him and James loved about Saabs when they were driving them, he's like, they were just the thing that made them amazing, but was also their best and worst quality was that they were so damn good at just being a car.
Right.
Just a functional, everything you want, everything laid out in a way that makes it function good, enough power. Like they had so many things that just made them so good at just being a car, tons of space, etc., etc. But that was also their biggest downfall because there also wasn't anything that was a standout feature.
Right.
And I think somewhat Volvo has taken what was good about that and then added some standout features like their looks. They look phenomenal. Their design language in the past 5 years is fantastic.
The interior game is really where, like, sure, like their exterior, like their like the lighting and how everything's sculpted, and they've definitely they've upped themselves that way.
Yep.
But especially in the interior department for me. Like just the design, the font layout, even with the infotainment, how everything is just sculpted and designed. It truly feels like a high-end product and a well-built made product.
And I've always loved their like modern seat designs that came along with that.
Mm-hmm.
They are phenomenally
quite
comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they took a lot of those lessons over the years that they saw from Saab, because Volvo has never been quite as experimental as Saab. They both did safety things in different ways. That's always been one of Volvo's pillars, is super safe.
Were they the first? They weren't the first company to have airbags, but they were like the first to market it really hard, and also the first like attainable car to like have safety features like ABS and airbags and that kind of stuff.
Yes. So Volvo was the first to do. They invented 3-point seat belts, and then they made the patent free for all. So that because they believed it was a safety
not the S class.
I do not believe because Volvo invented them.
They did.
Yes.
Okay. My understanding is that like the S class has been like the one to really like make all that stuff, and like it eventually trickles down to other stuff.
Yeah. So at least with the 3-point seat belts, from my understanding, it was Volvo invented it and then made the patent free because they believed that it was an important enough safety feature that it shouldn't be patented or royalties or shit like that. And then the Saab had.
In 1959, the Volvo engineer Niles Bolin developed the modern 3-point belt.
Yep. And then from there, so they had that, and they've kind of traded blows with a couple things. Saab's had a few. Saab was right there with them with airbags. And Saab actually was the first to design breakaway engine mounts, so the engine went under the car and not back into the cabin.
That's nice.
Saab was
so you don't get an engine in your lap.
Right. Saab was also the first to engineer crumple zones.
Okay.
So like my car, for instance, is one of the prime examples. If you look at crash photos of 900s, they lack certain safety features. Like if it's before 1990, they don't have ABS, airbags, or things like that. But from a structural standpoint, they're still considered to be one of the best from just a sheer metal standpoint. Because the fact that car weighs 3,500 pounds and it's only about a foot longer than your Fiesta and about the same width.
Yeah, it's fucking dense.
It is a dense lad.
Yeah.
You knock on the roof of that thing, it sounds like you're knocking on a bank vault door.
Yeah.
But they traded blows with that as they were going around. And I think what happened is over the years, Volvo would see, because as far as I'm also aware, the companies did have a good relationship because they were only about 2 hours away from each other in Sweden.
Oh, cool.
As far as I'm aware, being that Saab was always, we want to build it better, not cheaper, but we have to compete on price, and that's what fucked them over twice and got them bankrupt twice.
Yeah.
I think Volvo would kind of look at that and take some inspiration from it as things went along.
They also got a bunch of money from China.
They did. Because Volvo got bought out by
Geely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then now, I think, since Saab has been gone, I know they actually hired a bunch of the Saab engineers when it all went under. So I know that there was some camaraderie that happened there, as well as I think they've looked at it, and I know they've absorbed a lot of the customers as well, because it's the only other Swedish brand, another odd one, and also taken some of the inspirations of years gone by. Like, there was even once that I saw an advertisement where they actually kind of paid a little homage, like, we, feel bad. And I know there was even talks of Volvo buying Saab at one point. Like, all these things went around when all the shit was going down in 2010 when Saab finally went under. But I just think that with all of where Volvo has gone now, I think they've taken kind of the best of what they learned over the years, the best of what they saw Saab do over the years, and implemented that with new technology and new designs, and avoided some of the weirdness. Because they're not as quirky as they used to be. Neither Volvo nor nearly as much as Saab.
No, but they do drive kind of strange.
They do. And I think a lot of that's due to their strange powertrain.
Yeah.
The Turbo Super.
Yeah, the one that I drove was a T6. So that's a twin charge, right?
Yep.
But it's twin charge, but not hybrid.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so their product stack now, because it used to be that like T4 was Turbo 4, T6 was Turbo 6.
T5 was a 5-cylinder.
Way back in the day.
Yeah.
Now they've just taken those same names and applied them to power levels effectively.
I've only seen anecdotally T6 and T8s. I don't know. So I guess if you were to buy just a Turbo 4-cylinder, it's a T4.
Here in the States, I don't think those exist anymore.
Let me go onto Volvo's website.
I think the T4 does exist, but I don't think we've ever gotten it since the new rebranding and stuff. I think it's just T6s and T8s, like you said.
Okay.
Because the T8 is the hybrid. That's like the...
so all of the cars are twin charged then?
I believe so. I believe they all share the effective same twin charged engine.
Let me see. I want to check this out. I'm going to go to, let's just say, an S60.
Yeah.
It says gas or hybrid. I'm going to build one.
Again, I'm going to go on here. Our cars
starting at 41,000.
They've been fairly competitive on price for what they are at this point.
Volvo?
For what they are.
I guess. I mean, they've always run high though.
They've always run a little high, but I think they're not as high as they were for what you're getting.
It is always a surprise, but when you take a first glance at it,
it's a little higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I believe so. The Carson, the friend I mentioned earlier, like he still wants
a B5. There's a 2023 S60 B5, all-wheel drive.
Interesting.
All-wheel. So B5, it says all-wheel drive mild hybrid.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
I know they also did a thing at one point where they had a split system with rear wheel electric, front wheel.
Okay. So I'm looking under, I guess I went to the wrong thing. I went to shop like new car inventory.
Yeah.
But it says it's choosing from engine type, and this is just through Volvo's website, gasoline, plug-in hybrid, or pure electric.
Yeah.
So pure electric being Polestar, probably.
Yeah. I think at this point, I don't even think they have a true hybrid. I think it's either pure gas, plug-in, or full, just like what you saw.
Well, they have mild hybrid.
Oh,
mild. It's a 48-volt system, like in the RS6 per se, or like a lot of what's going to be coming to Lamborghini.
Yep.
Other stuff like that. Let's get away from this. I did this all wrong. I just want to build a car. Shopping tools? I haven't built a car online in a long time.
And to be quite fair, their website's a little whack.
Yeah.
Oh, I always forget that the V8 that ended up in the XC90 for a while was a Yamaha engine.
Yeah, and that's also what was in the Noble M600.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. what did she have? My best friend growing up's mom had an XC90. I think it was no, I think it was a T6. I don't think she got the V8.
Yeah.
Which is surprising to knowing who she is. Explorer mild hybrids, electric cars, plug-in hybrids.
Okay, I did find a list of Volvo engines just in general. So they do have a.
Oh, what's the source?
It is a Wikipedia source, but it does actually have a source, which is a deep Volvo document.
I was just trying to see what you could buy now, like what they had.
Yeah, I do believe here in America, like I said, it does seem to be, because I also have Volvo's website pulled up, T6 or the plug-in or full electric or T8.
Yeah. So you can't just buy a turbo 4-cylinder.
Nope. I think we are all turbo super. So they do have a T2, 3, 4, and 5, which are all single turbo 4-cylinders that all just step up in power.
Are those being made now though? Are those new? So what are those in?
That's a good question. I believe those are going to be in the smaller cars that we don't get here.
Ah, gotcha.
So because then they basically have T2, 3, 4, 5, which are from 122 horsepower to 245, so it's just going up. And then there's T6, which is the turbo super, which makes around 320. And then there's the Polestar turbo super, that is now, I think,
that's the one that Carson was looking at, right?
No, because that's the T8. There's a Polestar turbo super that didn't have hybrid.
We are fucking in the weeds, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit.
And then there's the T8 that is that engine plus hybrid.
Okay.
So, which is around 320 horsepower plus the extra 80 some odd from the hybrid.
So Carson was looking at the non-hybrid.
No, he's looking at the hybrid.
Oh, so he's looking for the full beans and potatoes.
Yeah, and granted, this is also confusing because right now Volvo's confusing because they have Polestar as a separate brand, but then they still have Polestar engineered in the brand.
That's kind of like Audi S-Line kind of thing. But Polestar has been selling some cars though, like with the Polestar 2s.
Yes.
Like I did a delivery, was it this week? I think it was this week, where it was like a Volvo ad, or a Polestar ad. Like it was the Polestar 2 that was in like the covered parking, like in the driveway.
Yeah.
Everything's super like contemporary, mid-century modern. Like I walked up, I could see like the Eames chairs like in the living room. Everything was like super like clean.
Correction. There is one car that we get that has a standard turbo 4.
Okay.
That's the XC40 non-hybrid.
So I pulled up XC40 gas under the just under like the overview and stuff, and I actually didn't even get to specs yet. So
I think that is the one car though.
I'm on their site now. If my computer wants to scroll down, that would be super great. Yeah, mild hybrid for B4. So they're pulling an Audi. They have a B4 front wheel drive and a B5 all wheel drive. They're mild hybrids. The B4 makes 194 horsepower and the B5 is 247.
Okay.
With an 8.10 to 60 and a 6.10 to 60 respectively.
Gotcha.
But yeah, front wheel drive for the 4, all wheel drive for the 5. I want to check out more performance data because I'm a fucking nerd.
And everywhere else in the world, the XC40 gets the T3, which is a 3-cylinder turbo, actually.
That sounds like a very global thing to do.
Yep.
So the B4 is a 4-cylinder direct injection turbo. So that's what that is. That is your 190-ish horse.
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah, 0 to 60 in 8.1. It's not giving me like in typical Volvo fashion, it's not giving me like at RPMs or anything.
Yep.
It's actually, I have transmission, drive, acceleration, horsepower, torque, cargo capacity, max towing, and weight. Max, I guess, yeah, the cargo weight, like the max cargo, is like 2,200 pounds. What doesn't tell me how much it weighs.
Yeah, so
give me all like the nitty gritty stuff, but
the T2 seems to be a smaller 3-cylinder, and that's in like the V40 and stuff like that we do not get at all.
Yeah.
Or the C segment cars as they call them, to the real small ones.
Yeah.
And then they have a diesel that naturally we also don't get, but the rest of the world does.
You know, but I do really like the XC40 for just like as an it looks. I don't want to say it looks cute, but they kind of look cute, but in like a really like hyper modern way. I feel like it's going to age well, though.
I feel like out of the modern, we'll call them mid-compact crossovers, I do think it looks much better than the rest of them.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of them have a tendency to just look like a squished, bigger one.
Kind of.
I think that the XC40 did a lot better job of taking that and actually sculpting around it versus just looking like a squished XC60.
Right. Yeah. No, it is the epitome of of an attractive personal mobility pod. It's the thing to take me from place to place, but it's a nice inside. It's a good place to be. It's efficient-ish.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like a Tesla. It's not going to be like a Leaf. It's not going to be like any of that stuff. But I don't know. If someone was looking at one of these are like, what, 36 starting? If someone needed like a $600 a month payment on something that was nice but like not crazy, like fucking check this shit out, you know?
And it could be good. And like I do know from actually Carson going and attempting to buy that V60 Polestar, the Volvo dealer said that they've kept markups more or less non-existent here in Salt Lake, which is good because that's, we've mentioned before, it's been a constant problem and it's thorn in the side of several friends that we have.
Yeah.
And so, especially on something like an XC40, the likelihood of having a markup is pretty slim because it's not a crazy car. So like you probably could get it for actually, like if you ordered in a base spec, you probably could get it for 36 plus just regular
depending.
registration.
I mean, RAV4 Primes also have like a $15,000 markup. So it's not just the enthusiast market.
Yet again, it really does depend on the dealer because they're going to look at anything like, okay, anytime we get one of these that sells out instantly, add an extra 10 G's on there.
Sure. I mean, who's it Mark Miller? Or no, who's the Toyota dealer in downtown? Is it a Miller?
I don't know.
Is it Ken Garv?
I am not sure.
I should know. Our new shop is around the corner from them.
Let's see.
Yes, it's Mark Miller.
Okay.
Mark Miller Toyota will sell you a BRZ, or sorry, the new GR86 at sticker.
Good.
They've been selling stuff at sticker, which is good. So you have people like that, but then you also have RAV4 Primes going for 15 over, or Kia Tellurides, at $65,000.
Yeah,
which is like it's a nice truck, but like
it's not that. I mean, even we mentioned before Coulter, who is still on his car hunt. He actually did go attempt to like just see what a Type R would be.
Yeah.
Performance Honda did tell him $7,000 markup.
That's not terrible.
I hate to say that it's not terrible, but it's better than the shit we've seen.
But it's still a $50,000 Civic because they're starting at 43.
Yeah. So at that point, I mean, 50 to 52, depending on the couple of options.
But he was also looking at a $50,000. Like if you're looking at just numbers of like how much you're spending on the thing, I do feel like a Type R would be good for him maybe at this point of his life.
Yeah.
Because he still has the G35. That's not going anywhere.
No.
He's gotten rid of the Audi.
Yep.
A 400Z would have been really, really cool. He would have still been staying in the Nissan family.
Yep.
I like to see people stepping outside of their typical rut of either brands or even models.
Yep.
Because you have the people that buy Mustang after Mustang. It's like, oh, fucking move on. Mm-hmm. I get stuck in Porsches a lot of the time. But they are also a different enough vehicle from a lot of other things that like they have their own thing. They are their own identity.
Yeah.
But I've also gone from Subaru after Subaru to then owning a Ford, hatchback.
Yeah.
So I can still kind of like live up to that. So having him go from either an all-wheel drive wagon, naturally aspirated manual wagon, like a cool, like that's definitely an enthusiast thing.
Yep.
And also having a rear-wheel drive sedan. The G35 is still a sedan? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
I couldn't remember if it was the coupe or not. But yeah, going from that to a front-wheel drive, some people put it in the hot hatch category, even though it's not a hatchback. Yeah. It's like with the current or the outgoing STI or the current gen WRX. Like some people put that in the same like hot hatch import category. But seeing him go to that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to see that for him. I think he would get more car for his dollar with the Type R than the 400Z. The 400Z looks like a sports car, and there are, I guess, a couple of different categories of sports car.
Yeah.
But from everything that I've seen, they really have taken the 370Z chassis, thrown turbos on the engine, given it a reskin, a better interior, but adding weight, and it's still a grand touring vehicle. It's not really a buttoned-up sports car like people think it is.
Exactly. And I did give him a couple other suggestions if he was, because he is somewhat willing to toy with the idea of used, but like new used, like 4 years or
Sure.
so. A couple of those were like, you could look at a TTRS.
Oh, what are TTRSs right now?
They're
Or RS3s? I think I would recommend an RS3 over a TTRS, frankly.
Yeah, they have fluctuated a little bit, but
Because TTRS brand new was like touching 60, I think, base.
yeah, and I think that they have stayed in a, we'll call it mildly reasonable range of
Okay.
like 50 to 60,
Okay.
just depending on year and model.
Because
So,
I
like,
also know GT350s and M2s went back up because they were starting to touch the low 40s and now they're 50 again.
so yeah, pull up right here. So 2018, so Gen 3 TTRS.
Yeah.
With 40,000 miles for around 60.
Yeah, miles don't matter anymore.
They do not. So it looks like the TTRSs have still stayed up 60 to 70, but I believe the RS3s in particular have actually been a little lower because, people are going to look at the two-door sport factor of,
I guess so. But, I mean, people also buy RS3s for daily driver duty, too.
yeah.
Daily driver duty and also throwing mad fucking power at them.
Yeah, so I did actually make one used suggestion, one new suggestion that
Okay.
actually took his...
Why hasn't he written into us to give us a car debate?
I know. Right?
Coulter, what the fuck, dude? And I know you're listening.
Do it right into
Come
us.
on.
But no, the one used car that I actually thought about on a random day and just sent him a message was like, you need to look up this. A Jaguar XF Sport Brake. They're cheap because they only sold them here in the U.S. for 3 years.
Hardly anyone bought them, too.
They only sold them here in the U.S. for 3 years, 17 through 19.
There's a guy that had an A90 Supra here locally. He had that, and I think he still has like a purple Charger, I think. But he sold his Supra and got the XF Sport Brake in red, as one does.
Yes. So
Imagine that with the BRG over tan.
and I've seen some. In fact,
Dude.
you commented on one recently, and I saw it in the Green Car Appreciation Society. It wasn't tan; it was green over brown.
An XF Sport Brake?
And you said great spec. Like I remember seeing that scrolling through Facebook.
Yeah.
So
There's a white one that I do see running around the Sugar House area a lot. I don't know how many there are actually in Utah, but yeah, Coulter. I mean, look at that. I mean, you have to look at what somebody has and what they've come from and where they could possibly go when you're making this kind of or helping with this decision. Does Coulter need or want another wagon?
he's not opposed to it. He did like the wagon factor of the Audi.
Sure.
So I just pulled these up to re-verify this because I looked this up. It was like a month ago that I suggested this.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're anywhere from like 35 to 45,000 for a car that was 70 when new.
Yes. However,
They are.
they're still Jaguars that under Indian ownership, which has been good for them.
They have improved somewhat.
There are still some electrical issues I could see. I mean, my boss drives an F-Pace,
Yeah.
the supercharged V6 F-Pace, and hasn't really had issues. She used to drive a block and a half, or not even a block and a half. She would actually drive, though, which is fucking ridiculous. Pam. What the fuck? But she now drives from Sugar House into downtown.
Yeah.
And she will probably be putting more, but she would also take it on road trips.
Yeah.
And put some miles on it. And hasn't, to my recollection, it hasn't been trouble ridden.
Yeah.
It hasn't been like failed ECU after failed ECU after failed wiring, like any of that kind of like weird electrical gremlin shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's been fairly robust for her.
The advantage of the XFs, and again, we only got the wagon from 17 through 19. It was a very short window. Is that by the time we got this platform, it was already almost a decade old everywhere else.
Yeah.
So a lot of the
Same with the Ford Ranger, by the way.
yeah, exactly. So a lot of those bugs had been worked out to the best degree that a British manufacturer under Indian ownership is going to be.
True.
So like right here, we have this beautiful red on black. I'll pull this up to you. Like, we do have some good like options. Like,
So the XFS is still the 3.5 supercharged?
yes,
Cool.
so it is supercharged, and also fortunately by this era, Jaguar got the better infotainment that also has like CarPlay and stuff like that.
Yeah, look at that.
So like the interior got a slight bump, and
Because the older stuff looks really old now.
it looks very
Not like the 2000 stuff, but even like a 2015, like it looks fucking dated now.
It does. It was very clearly designed in 2010. But there's a lot of options for these in varying prices and mileage and stuff, but most of them have under 50,000 miles. A lot of them are still certified pre-owned.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them have some.
Oh, those are nice wheels on that 2019 there.
Oh yeah, nope. That's the. I think that wheel debuted on the F-Type actually. The curved spoke wheel on like
Did
the
it?
base model F-Types.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because the F-Type that I rented had that, but it was the carbon version of that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But like, there are plenty of these options that are in that price range that are really cool cars that like have a really good sounding engine, fast as well.
Yeah.
They're all-wheel drive,
Yeah.
They tick a lot of boxes being a wagon.
They do, and it's got a good ZF8 speed in it. I would like to see Coulter in something he hasn't had before,
That was the other suggestion I made.
which is what? The Type R?
No,
What?
G70,
Oh, which one? The old one or the brand new
the
one?
brand new one.
Yeah, okay.
I told him, go to a Genesis dealer, look at it. And he
Yeah.
did yesterday.
He did.
So
He's going to listen to you more than he's going to listen to me, but
Coulter's going to listen to himself more than anybody, to be honest.
that's fair.
But
you have a fighting chance at least.
So he did go there. He test drove a G80 because they didn't, the G70 they had on the lot actually just sold.
Oh, okay.
So, but he was able to sit in it and look at it real quick.
Yeah.
His only complaint with the G70 was primarily he didn't like the rear end, which I actually think the rear end looks pretty handsome, personally.
I have more of a problem with the front end on it, honestly, which is it's not ugly. Personally, I like the previous gen more.
I agree. I'm with you on that.
It's color depending though. The red is the business. That is the shit in red, in my opinion.
Oh, have you seen actually? Let me pull their website up. Have you seen the new color they just dropped for this year?
No.
Okay, I need to show you
Is
this.
it green?
Sort of.
Oh. That was just a random guess.
So the new color they dropped for this year, and I think I just have to click this and then go into the actual.
Ooh.
So there's two colors. There is a green,
Okay.
and then there is what they call Tasman blue,
Is that like a dark blue, like almost black?
No.
What is this?
I'm about to show you. Let's just.
I'm just throwing darts at the board
There
here.
we go. I just gotta go this and then go to.
Also, did he ever drive your Stinger?
He did. He rode in it. I don't think he ever drove it.
Okay, gotcha.
This.
Oh, interesting.
It's like a darker teal.
Yeah.
I really like that. That other one you saw right was this like muted green.
Yeah.
This in person actually looks a lot better than it does on
I was going to say,
here.
that looks a little out there.
It does. It looks a lot better in person. It looks closer to like a muted army green.
I could really see him in a red, though.
I could too.
Like red on black.
And this is effectively the same red my Stinger was.
Yeah.
Really beautiful color.
Maybe a little brighter in person.
Yeah, I like this. This Tasman blue, I've seen one in this color, and it is astonishing.
Can you go to the back end?
Yes.
Probably just... yeah. Go do one more. Oh, damn. Never mind. I was hoping for like a right or 3/4.
Let's see. There we
go. I mean, that photo probably makes it look a little bit more appealing than in person. I like the fact that they've been really identifying their brand with their design language.
Yeah.
They're not... They really are becoming themselves, and they're coming into their own here.
Yeah.
If we're talking about it in a vacuum, I like the previous gen more visually, but you're going to get just a knockout of the park interior. You're going to have the same great dynamic chassis, a little bit shorter than the Stinger.
Weighs about 200 pounds less.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit more chuckable, but you're also going to you're going to feel executive as fuck inside.
It is and actually, what's funny is I agree with you on the exterior. I like the original exterior more than the redesign. I actually like... They did a couple small changes to the interior.
So before we move on, though, what I will say, and I think the reason why I like the previous gen more than this is because with the design of the outside, they are going more towards executive and luxury, whereas before it was definitely more on the sporting end. They were like, here's a sports sedan, have fun.
Yes, on the interior, if I can get it to switch to an interior.
Just probably keep swiping, honestly.
Let's see. Let me just go this direction, see if it goes to the...
I think you're
There
making,
we go.
Okay.
Cool. So they did a couple small updates. Depending on the trim you get, this can now be like the hand-hammered aluminum.
Okay.
So kind of like the Mark V R32.
Yeah.
That aluminum trim.
Uh-huh.
The diamond stitching was always there.
That's exactly what they want to hear, by the way.
Right. Exactly. And they hired a bunch of Germans. I'm sure yeah. That's exactly what they're aiming for. Depending on the spec, they also added this red, which is...
It's too much.
It's a lot.
Maybe if it was just the seats, but...
So they did add a couple other like interior options. I think there was I guess that is.
What's the gray? Oh, that's like a slate gray or a light slate.
It's actually fairly nice. I've seen one of these in person.
Okay.
I think it's a good balance between like a white and a gray.
Mm-hmm. Like a chalk, really.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. I would probably get it with the black with red stitching. I think that looks nice. And then they also updated just a couple small things on the interior. So I actually like the new interior more, the old exterior better. Sadly, there's no combination of both of those.
You're not going to rip the new interior out of a new car and put it in an old car?
No.
Oh.
As fun as that
you don't think that's worth it?
Not really. So he did end up driving the G80, though, because...
What do you think?
He actually liked it.
Cool.
The new G80... because they've kind of leapfrogged a bunch. The G70 came out in 17, along with the G90, and because the G80 had existed for a year before that. I think
a couple. I think didn't the G80 originally come out in like 15 or some shit?
Oh, I clicked the wrong one. Yes, it did. Because the G80 was the first.
Because Sasha's stepdad has one.
Yeah, the G80 was the first to drop.
And that had like the big 5.0 V8 in it.
Yep. So the 5.0 no longer exists in the high-end G80. It is the punched out 3.5 Stinger motor. So there's a 3.3 and a 3.5. This now gets the 3.
So, I'm sorry, you're saying the 5 liter is a punched out 3.5?
No. Sorry. This originally got the 500 or the 5 liter V8.
You're right.
Now
there's a 3.3.
This is a 3.5. So they took the Stinger's 3.3 and they punched it out to 3.5.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
Cool.
So this now makes 375 horsepower versus the 360.
That says 300 right there.
Yes, that's the base model 4-cylinder because their 2.5 4-cylinder makes...
Why would they advertise the 4-cylinder first?
I don't know. But I do know that they have the 3.5 variant. Yep, see right there, 3.5T.
Okay, gotcha. That's weird.
It is a little weird. But he did like it. It is... I think this car and the G90 have definitely gotten a little weird on the front.
See, I think it fits that though, because it's all about road presence, but while also not being flashy.
And I actually really like the rears of these.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that the first year of both the redesign of the 80 and 90 were a little weird, and I think the second year, once they did a couple other tweaks, I think they look pretty handsome now. They've really identified themselves. They don't just look like a copy Mercedes.
Right. And that's the whole point that they've been going for with this design language of like the two lines for both the headlights and also the brake lights.
The difficulty is to get a G80, you're going to be, especially if you're getting a loaded one like what I'm building right now, you're going to be in the 70s,
But that's also the point.
It is the point. It is supposed to be like, we'll call it
It's a 5 Series.
5 Series.
Because the G70 is for the 3 Series buyer or the C-Class buyer. This is for like the E-Class or 5 Series buyer. And then the G90 is like is 7 Series, right?
Yep. And then if you go to the interior, like these interiors are pretty good. The new G90 interior is wild.
Well, that's like a 7 Series.
Yep. But so these have an interesting seat design.
Yeah.
This interior is much more muted compared to the other two. But if you go to the new G90 that just dropped this year because it just got its refresh.
Right. Well, so I mean, for the G80, it's slating in between more of a sports sedan interior and also a crazy not hyper luxury, but like a higher end luxury executive sedan. It is positioning itself in between the two.
Yep. And so even the 5 liters gone from the G90 now. Now it's a electric. So it's a electric boosted. They call it e-supercharger.
It's a terrible name.
It is very much so.
Yeah, but that's a mild hybrid probably.
Yeah, it's a boosted 50 horsepower extra 3.5.
Okay.
So, go here. What I wanted to get to was the interior because oh my god, is it crazy? It's like
that's nuts. Can you find another interior shot?
Yes. Or not.
Or not.
Apparently not.
Go fuck ourselves.
If I just go back to the main page, I can just go to the gallery there. Yeah. They went quite wild with this one. There we go. Like,
very nice.
Yeah. Like, look at the steering wheel. It is like,
that's pretty elegant. I mean, I'm distracted by like the forged carbon that's like on the dash and stuff.
Yeah, I actually like the steering wheel, how it actually has the color matched center. I think that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I do think the trim is gaudy as fuck. That's the rear control center. Like, it's
that's got a lot going on. I think I like that though. If you go back to like that other steering wheel shot, the combination of like it's almost purpley chocolate, and that might just be the photo.
Yeah.
But like this deep chocolate brown with like I've never liked compressed or forged carbon.
Yeah, neither have
I've never really liked it. I kind of understood why it would be like on like a Performante or something like that, but beyond that, I start to get lost. Not a huge fan of that combo. But if we're just looking at like the lines of how just everything is like drawn out and designed, I do like it.
I did actually just notice something that I like a lot. So clearly this has one of the things.
Well, people are listening; they're not watching. So
yeah, so we've talked about
nothing's clear here.
We've talked about before that a lot of vehicles these days are going to just huge panels, kind of like Mercedes did with this big wide display thing.
Right.
I like these two little buttresses that come up on the left and right of the gauge cluster that separate that big LCD panel.
They break it up, and they have buttons on them.
Yep.
I don't know what those buttons are, but it says leather. The main part that breaks it away is this like lowered leather bit that comes up and at an angle to the top of the screen to separate the gauge cluster from the, I guess, infotainment. But it has some stainless steel on it, or it looks like steel. Can you maybe find some other pictures that might be a close-up of what those buttons might be?
I know there was like a bigger gallery. Let's just go to design and see if that has more.
If you
photos.
have to ask, you probably can't afford it.
Yes. Exterior gallery, interior gallery. Okay, here we go. Let's see.
That's not really what I'm looking for.
Let's see. I don't know if they have a closer-up. Ooh, they have a knurled shift knob.
Hold on. Go back 2.
Okay. There you go. Hello.
That's a plus and a minus there, and that almost looks like a light.
I think
maybe it's a washer.
I think that's interior illumination.
Okay, keep going.
That's it. That's it.
God damn it, Jesus.
Oh, here you go. I can't open it up to zoom in,
really it.
But it's interesting. Oh wow, LED illumination on the insides of the sunroof shades.
That looks like my Fiesta ST sunroof. That's like bleeding light into it.
I know. Anyways, I do appreciate this as a separation versus just
great, yeah.
just the huge thing. And that's such a small touch that probably didn't cost them that much to do, that adds so much more design to it rather than just this 30-inch wide LCD-ish panel.
Well, that shit's cheap.
Yeah.
So like this actually, yeah, like you said, costs money, but it also like breaks it away.
It identifies it better than just like this massive slab of black.
Yeah.
I wish more things would do that.
No, Genesis seems to be a luxury company with a personality, where it's like Mercedes, Audi especially, and also BMW. BMW struggling with their identity. Mercedes, I mean, I guess they kind of have their own, but it's not that definitive.
No.
Audi is getting more dihedral with their design.
Yeah.
And I think that really opened up a great a place in the market for Genesis. Because also Acura is fucking struggling too.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're doing.
No. You know what's funny? I think I've actually... It's not by no means is it the only thing that has happened, but I think I've actually figured out what has led to like the Hyundai Genesis revolution, because we know it was because they brought over a bunch of engineers, a ton of like, upper level management, a ton of upper level management and design team changed, and they tried to really move.
Well, and the R&D department.
They tried to move all three brands forward, Hyundai, Kia, and then create Genesis at the time, because that started in around the 2010-ish era. So a similar thing kind of has happened to the tech world where AMD, which is one of the big processor brands with Intel, about 7 years ago had kind of been driven into the ground by just straight businessmen doing stupid shit and throwing stupid sales tactics out. And then upper level management changed to the CEO is a PhD engineer. She's not a businesswoman. Her name's Lisa Su. She's fantastic. Like awesome presentations, really completely turned the brand upside down, redid it from the inside out, and now they are pushing shit out that's faster than Intel for cheaper and like better all around. You're not sacrificing anything. Similar to kind of like what I've seen also happen here with like Hyundai and Genesis, where it kind of seems like the same thing. It seems that the problem with corporations and brands is if you have somebody in the top seats that is just a business individual that doesn't have like design experience or anything like that, the brand stagnates or doesn't have a really good identity. If you flip that, you get people like Bierman, you get all these other individuals involved.
Folks from Audi too.
And you carry them over to your brand.
Yeah.
Your brand, guess what, has a resurgence in quality and popularity and design, and you actually get shit done because the people at top actually know what has to go on at the engineering department to make shit happen.
I'm just curious to find out, or to know how long it's really going to take for Genesis and also Hyundai Kia to really eliminate that mantra that they've been trying to get rid of for 20 years. Because you still have people, a lot of which from either from here or from like the Midwest or from the South, that they just see the logo that's on the hood and they go, I will never own one of those because it's from Korea.
Yep. And I'm sure a lot of that is why Kia did their logo change a few years back, because they just were like, we need to...
No, that was like this year or something. It was like really recent.
They just were like, we need to ditch that.
Yeah.
Because that has a lot of stigma, and although it's not changing the brand name or anything, just looking at that oval that they used to have elicited cheapness in a lot of people.
Yeah.
And... I don't know.
Which is funny because when I see that old logo, I actually think of your Stinger, and I think of like a really great car. So
right? It's weird. I think it could take. I think what it might be, the perfect storm might be what's going to happen in the next roughly 10 years with electrification and stuff, because they've already started doing it. In fact, right here,
GV60,
electrified G80 and the GV60.
Yeah,
they already have two models that are both look fantastic and like perform really well.
Yeah, the GV60 really looks futuristic as fuck. Like that of all the cars that you can buy on sale today, I think it's this and the EV6, which has been selling really well here.
Yes.
I see them all the time. I probably see more EV6s than I do Volkswagen ID4s, which is not what I expected.
No,
I expected
here
to see ID4s all over the place.
And honestly, the EV6 has some road presence.
It really does.
It looks pretty sweet for what it is.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw it, it actually snapped my neck. I was like, holy shit.
What is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think between that and like the GV80, which I believe you can even get in a hybridized platform, I think that will hopefully could be their perfect storm. Because if you look at it, they're doing it with all three brands, Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis. All three of them have kind of really started to pump out things like the EV6, like the Hyundai... which one is the Hyundai one? I'm trying to remember. The one that looks like 80s throwback kind of.
Oh, the Ioniq 5.
Yes, the Ioniq 5, the GV60. I think that this could, if it's done well, in the next 10 years, be their ticket out of that brand image.
That'd be great.
I really do think it could be, because it's what could set them apart, and it's what is starting to set them apart.
I think so. I do like the design language that we saw on the G70 on the GV80. I think that's actually where it looks best.
I think it's a very handsome SUV.
Oh yeah,
very handsome, and I like.
It's a huge fucking grill, but like at least it's somewhat relevant and proportional to the size of the vehicle.
And then I actually like the rears on these as well, which also have that the similar two strikes and whatnot.
Yeah, that's like what I said before. It's their design language and their brand identity.
Yeah,
and apparently they actually these SUVs also drive really, really well.
Yeah, and I mean the interior almost is similar to some of the others. It's like
that steering wheel does look a little old though.
Yeah, it does. But I do think they almost took like the Bentayga design.
I was gonna say that. Yeah,
and then unbentleyed it a little bit.
They did the Bentayga the way it should have been.
I agree.
It's almost like a Bentayga and an Aston DBX, actually.
Yes.
A little bit of that.
And I think that they did it like really well. I think the combination of those, it still looks unique. It doesn't look like a direct copy because of the grille on the front and because of the rear. but I think it was like, that looks kind of like a Bentayga, but in a good way. It's a good reference, not a bad reference.
Right.
So
you know what's funny? I've softened on the Bentayga, like the looks of it, and I'm still pretty steadfast on the Urus. I don't think the Urus will ever be appealing to me.
I am with you on that.
Yeah. I prefer Cullinan over the Urus.
Yeah, I could actually see that. The Cullinan, while it's kind of brash and odd, is at least not.
It's not attractive.
It's not attractive, but at least it's not intrusive like the Lamborghini is.
And it's also honest.
Yeah, very much so. Actually, I was going to mention one more thing right here because I had looked this up when I was looking this up for Coulter. One of the cool things that Genesis is doing is with all the new models, not only is like all your service included up to 36,000 miles, but they will come pick your car up and drop one off for you, do service, and then swap them back so that you never have to set foot in the dealership.
I mean, that's the kind of shit that that Lexus was doing. Mm-hmm. They weren't doing literally that, but that's the headspace that they had when the LS400 came out in the 90s.
Yep.
And like they really were trying to set themselves apart. You know, I guess we're seeing a similarity there too. Yeah. From the Germans.
Yep.
Like that was the service experience and the dealership experience was unlike anything else that was out there. And that's also part of what sells cars too.
Yeah, and they had the other weird thing that I found was they have what's called what do they call it? It's part of their connected service, but basically they made it so that you could actually use your phone as just the key, similar to like how you could do that with Model S stuff, with just NFC, which I think is always kind of interesting.
I only see that as problematic, and I'm not the only person to say that either.
No, I know. I think it's cool tech, but at the same time, I do agree it can.
I would like a physical key. I mean, my fob is one thing. I want it. Put that in there and turn it over.
I do miss that.
Yeah.
I mean, I still love like even my Stinger key. Like I do love that design.
That was a great key.
Yeah. What's funny is it's actually sitting in my office right now, not in the lockbox I usually have it in, because I still have one. I didn't trade in both keys. I kept one.
Why not? That doesn't sound legal.
They don't give a shit. They just need one key to the vehicle. There's no agreement that has to go there.
Okay.
No, so I still have one of my keys.
Okay.
But like, it feels just so good in the hand to have an actual physical thing, even if it's not like a turnkey.
They were really ergonomic, but also had a sense of theater about them, like feeling like, you could set off a bomb with it.
Yep. It's super fun, but at least having that key versus nothing or like a credit card like the Model 3s have,
right.
I much prefer that, or built into phone.
I like
NFC.
the idea of having something like a credit card key because you really can just have it in your wallet. You don't have to worry about where's my key.
Yep.
But at the same time,
yep,
you could lose it like that, or like if you lose your wallet, you're really fucked.
Yeah, and that's where it's.
Or how can you like really tell that if your car is unlocked?
Yep.
Like walking away from it.
I hate that. Yeah, that's one of the things I hate most.
I want to hit a button and see the lights go on and know that it's locked.
Yep, and the phone thing to me goes both directions. It's like, okay, potential security risk because people do know how to break NFC codes and things like that.
Or what if the app crashes?
Mm-hmm. Or what if the app crashes? Or like I do think it's cool, for instance, having an Apple Watch like I do, like you could just use that, don't even need to use your phone.
Sure.
Like cool ideas in theory.
Yeah.
And I think that as the world goes forward, we'll find better ways to implement that.
Right.
That are less risky.
Sure.
But at the moment, it's like I would still rather have smart keys have gotten good enough that they're not a problem anymore. I'd rather just have a smart key with a push button because that's what most things are these days.
Sure.
There's just, I do also herald and miss the good old days of a good old-fashioned mechanical key.
Mm-hmm.
It
got the little light that goes around like where the keyhole is. So sometimes it turns red.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess we're becoming old men.
Get off my lawn.
Because all of my cars have the only two cars I've had with smart key are my Tacoma and the Stinger. Everything else has been standard key. And there's a sense of theater and drama with that. It's part of the reason, like even the Rossian. I like the fact you have to turn, disarm alarm, and then push button. It's kind of a cool process.
That's true. The Elise had an element of that in the S2000 too, because that was you turn the key but you hit the button kind of thing.
I've always liked the combo of those two things because it makes it feel a little more purposeful.
For a sports car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not for a daily.
I don't want that on my daily. I just want to hit the button and go.
Exactly. Exactly. So, well, probably about time.
How long have we been going?
Hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chunk of that beginning for personal reasons we're cutting out, but just because I wanted to do a warm up.
Yeah.
But it feels good to be back and like returning to some normalcy. So see you all next week. We need to start promoting our merch, I think, in the beginning of podcasts because people haven't bought any merch. So go buy our shit. www.exhibitionofspeed.com is where to find hoodies, hats, t-shirts, stickers, etc. But until next time, I have been Gavin.
And I've been Justin.
And this has been the Exhibition of Speed podcast. Goodbye.